28, 29, the raising of the daughter of Jairus. Mr. 5. 22-24, 35-42, and Jesus' personal trial in the Garden of Gethsemane. Mount 26. 36-46. Mr. 14. 32-42. These three, plus Andrew, were those who particularly questioned Jesus about Jerusalem's destruction, Jesus' future presence, and the conclusion of the system of things. Mr. 13. 1-3. Mount 24. 3. Though Peter is associated with his brother Andrew in the apostolic lists, the record of events more frequently pairs him with John, both before and after o textoi acute mirita longo. Peter 619. Peter's expressions basically were born of active interest and thought, coupled with strong feeling. That they are included in the Bible record is evidence of their worth, even though at times they reveal certain human weaknesses of the speaker. Thus, when many disciples stumbled at Jesus' teaching and abandoned him, Peter spoke for all the apostles in affirming their determination to remain with their Lord, the one having sayings of everlasting life. The Holy One of God. Joe 6. 66-69. After the apostles generally had replied to Jesus' question as to what people said about his identity, it was again Peter who expressed the solid conviction. You are the Christ, the Son of the living God, for which Jesus pronounced Peter blessed, or happy. Mount 16. 13-17. Peter's being foremost in speaking was matched by his being most frequently corrected, reproved, or rebuked. Though motivated by compassion, he committed the error of presuming to take Jesus aside and actually rebuke him for foretelling his future sufferings and death as the Messiah. Jesus turned his back on Peter, calling him an opposer, or Satan, who was pitting human reasoning against God's thoughts found in prophecy. Mount 16. 21-23. It may be noted, however, that Jesus looked at the other disciples when doing this, likely indicating that he knew Peter spoke sentiments shared by the others. Mr. 8. 32-33. When Peter presumed to speak for Jesus on the payment of a certain tax, Jesus gently helped him to realize the need for more careful thought before speaking. Mount 17. 24-27. Peter revealed overconfidence and a certain feeling of superiority over the other 11 when declaring that, though they might stumble in connection with Jesus, he would never do so, being willing to go to prison or even to die with Jesus. True, all the others joined in making such affirmation, but Peter did so first and profusely. Jesus then foretold Peter's threefold denial of his Lord. Mount 26. 31-35. Mr. 14. 30-31. Luke 22. 33-34. Peter was not just a man of words, but also a man of action, displaying both initiative and courage, as well as a strong attachment for his Lord. When Jesus sought out a lonely place before dawn to pray, Simon was soon out leading a group to hunt him down. Mr. 1. 35-37. Again, it was Peter who asked Jesus to command him to walk over the storm-swept waters to meet him, even walking a distance before giving way to doubt and starting to sink. Mount 14. 25-32. In the Garden of Gethsemane on the final night of Jesus' earthly life, Peter, along with James and John, was privileged to accompany Jesus to the area where he engaged in fervent prayer. Peter, like the other apostles, gave way to sleep, induced by tiredness and grief. Doubtless because Peter had so profusely voiced determination to stay by Jesus, it was to him that Jesus particularly addressed himself when he said, "Could you men not so much as watch 1 hour with me?" Mount 26. 36-45. Luke 22. 39-46. Peter failed to carry on prayer and suffered the consequences. The disciples, on seeing the mob about to take Jesus, asked whether they should fight. But Peter, not waiting to find out, acted, cutting off one man's ear with a sword stroke, though the fisherman likely intended to inflict worse damage and was then reproved by Jesus. Mount 26. 51-52. Luke 22. 49-51. Joe 18. 10-11. Although, like the other disciples, Peter abandoned Jesus, he thereafter followed the arresting mob at a good distance, apparently torn between fear for his own life and his deep concern as to what would happen to Jesus. Mount 26. 57, 58. Aided by another disciple, who evidently followed or accompanied him to the high priest's residence, Peter entered right into the courtyard. Joe 18. 15, 16. He did not remain quietly unobtrusive in some dark corner, but went up and warmed himself by the fire. The firelight enabled others to recognize him as a companion of Jesus, and his Galilean o textoi acute longo. Peter 620. Prior to Jesus manifesting himself to the disciples at the Sea of Galilee Tiberias, energetic Peter had announced he was going fishing, and the others joined him. When John later recognized Jesus on the beach, Peter impulsively swam ashore, leaving the others to bring the boat in, and when Jesus subsequently requested fish, Peter responded by drawing the net into shore. Joe 21. 1-13. It was on this occasion that Jesus 3 times questioned Peter, who had 3 times denied his Lord, as to his love for him, giving Peter the commission to shepherd his sheep. Jesus also foretold the manner of Peter's death, causing Peter, on catching sight of the Apostle John, to ask, "Lord, what will